my daughter, who just graduated from high school, she's our oldest. She's 17. She didn't get to do like a typical, senior trip because of
or prom. Or senior year,
yeah,
or
yeah, the whole dynamic around Corona and all that really just dampened a lot of kids, senior years, and it impacted the class before hers. It impacted her senior class, but she asked us. She said, "Look, can we kind of make up for this? Can we do something special?" And she brought up the idea of going back out to Tucson and to go out to LA because the kids, none of our kids, I should say, had ever been to Los Angeles before. They'd been to my hometown. They'd been to Tamara's hometown. Colorado, very familiar with, or they're very familiar with. Arizona, very familiar with. LA is its own animal. And if you have visited there, you kind of have a sense that people's temperaments and attitudes are a little different.
Actually, they're pretty widely varied, too.
They are. And depending on where in Los Angeles you are, you can have radically different experiences on a day-to-day basis. And I think it was important for us because, my grandfather, that side of the family is from East Los Angeles, and they've been there for many generations, still have a lot of family there.
I have a sister who still resides there.
Yep.
Spent pretty much her whole life except for college there.
Yeah,
and loves it. Absolutely loves it.
Yeah, our ties to Los Angeles are historical and current. So it's one of those things that when you grow up there, you kind of have just your sense of your respective community, and you often, I don't know, how do you say, you kind of get proprietary. Life in one part of LA is very different than life in another,
yes.
and your sense of self is sometimes shaped on where you grew up. It's one thing.
And frankly, there's a mountain range that makes a big divide.
Sure.
Are you a valley girl? Or are you from the other side? Are you from the beach or the Beverly Hills side or the Westwood side?
I was from Hollywood, West Hollywood, North Hollywood, which is basically weird LA. That's the only way.
I was in Venice. I probably identify most with Venice.
But Venice has its quirky side too.
All over the valley, so
yeah. So needless to say, the kids wanted to go see this, and it was kind of one of those things where, you're kind of like, okay.
And how long had it been since you were there?
Well, I last left LA. I want to say almost 25 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been about 30 since I left.
Yeah.
Long
So it's
time.
been a while. But needless to say, we went out there and took the kids. And I'll have some feedback after we watch the video.
This is very
about
first time
what
seeing
the
any of it.
experience was. But I personally won't ever live in Los Angeles again. I'm very happy in the mountains of Appalachia.
Yes.
I think it's paradise here. And I think it was very stark to see the difference, especially with my perspectives now. It's changed, but then it hasn't. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Certain aspects of it are still the same. So I'll have some commentary after the video, but I do want to see this video because she's worked on it.
Let's hope it all
I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to turn into a 2-part video.
Yeah, it is 2-part. It was impossible to do LA in one part. Now, most of it is in this one.
Yeah.
I think I saved Catalina Island for part 2, which is such a beautiful island. It's worth its own part.
Yeah, Catalina was its own experience. But since we're doing this on the live portion, if you're interested in seeing the second half where we go out to Catalina Island, which was wonderful, it was exquisite out there, then please go to our YouTube page, subscribe and like what we're doing there because you can see the rest of the video. But for the live portion, I think this is really just LA proper. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and see what we've got here.
Okay, we're here. My old haunting grounds. Flip this around.
Are we in Venice right now? Yeah. There's a
People set up doing all sorts of interesting things, their art, their jewelry. What do you think? He ain't having it.
worship these singers? You worship these entertainers that never died for your sins? But you reject Jesus who created you and died and rose again for your sins? What is wrong with this generation?
What'd you think?
I liked it. It was actually kind of funny. One picture I think was interesting.
Yeah, there was one clip that didn't
Oh,
render.
no, you're focused on that. I was focused on the gut that I had by the time I got to LA.
He ate 2 meals at every meal because
Yeah.
he didn't want to have to decide between this or that.
Yeah,
So
I
have
just
both.
barely shed that off. Like literally, like about what, a week and a half ago. I think I
and
finally had gotten
donuts
back.
at every
yeah.
meal. Every meal.
No, well, but mind you, we got back what, maybe a month ago now, a little less than a
give or
month
take.
ago. So, we went to Arizona, Tucson. For me, Hispanic food, which I grew up with, is the best in Tucson.
Yeah, it
it
is
is really,
phenomenal.
really, really
Very
good,
fresh,
very authentic,
not heavy.
traditional. Yeah. So I got there, and it like the first place we found was just an amazing restaurant that was new to me. I'd never been to.
Yeah.
And it just turned into a smorgasbord.
Yep.
It was like, we'll get one of those and get one of those. So the precedent we set with our first meal on vacation
Was try everything.
yeah, try everything. And so what ended up happening at each subsequent meal, I would sit down at new restaurants. I probably should have taken pictures of just the volume of food I was inhaling.
There's a couple.
Tamara did get, obviously that was eating at Little Tokyo at a cute little Japanese restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But you would sit down at the menu and it's like, well, that's amazing. That's amazing. I got to get them both.
Yeah.
And the problem for me is I ate both.
You
It
can
wasn't
eat both.
like any...
And be ready for the next meal as though it just without skipping a beat.
Yeah, we had waitresses who I think were horrified watching me put down food. It was... But I did it well.
You did.
It was delicious.
You did.
And I was very particular. I was like, no, this is for me. So they need to order now. Because she was just like, okay, we're good. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
I think the Tucson video is already up. It was one of the early things we put up before we even started doing
The live show.
stream.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That was like fresh right after we got back.
Yeah.
So-
And that first restaurant, I think I did a nice fun little compilation.
oh, yeah, you did. Because I remember
did.
the guacamole making and what have you. So,
So what'd you think
Either
of
way.
music? Can I just tell you that putting images to music is so much fun. I'm a former music major, former, opera major.
former
and,
disc jockey myself. so-
yeah. So we have this sort of interesting mixture of music in our house, but I've never put imagery to music, and I love it.
Yeah.
I
No,
love
it was cool. Now, when the music took obviously a rock and roll bend to it, that's down on Melrose Avenue, which for me was kind of like my home away from home hanging out. That's where your very eclectic and peculiar folks end up. But Tamara, I think, was mortified at times. Our daughters loved it. Our oldest literally said, every bit of fashion that I love, I now realize that this is where it comes from. And I was like, correct. Yeah, this is like the birthplace of that kind of fashion creativity if you're into kind of quirky alternative aesthetics. But
You better not have any sensitivities to different kinds of smokes.
yeah, and smells and everything
Because
else.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely interesting. So some of the things that were takeaways. One of the most important lessons, raising your kids in Appalachia, in town/rural experience is sometimes, they watch TV, they watch media, and they're always thinking, oh, the grass is greener, there's so much to do in cities. And don't get me wrong, there is. And you've just seen a small sampling of all that we were involved with and everywhere that we were going. But doing that for 1 week, I took the kids up into Bel Air, went through Beverly Hills, and said, look, let's pull up Zillow and see how much these homes
Houses are worth.
39 million, 54 million, 28 million. And I was like, now
Insanity.
wait, mind you, we're in the hills right now. Mm-hmm. Let's go 15 minutes down out of the hills, and you're literally into wall-to-wall traffic, chaos, lunatics. So I was like, look, no matter where you live, you're still in a massive city, and the city issues, the city problems will always be a feature
traffic.
of life there. Traffic, crazy.
When we went from the valley over to the beach, and it was, as the road, not even as the crow flies, the actual road was only about 16 miles that we had to travel. And it took us over an hour to travel that 16 minutes.
Yeah.
16 miles.
And it's actually worse than that at times.
And it wasn't even the worst time.
So
they were ready to come home.
Yeah, that was the
They
huge
got their
lesson.
feel.
It
Yeah,
was,
they
because
did.
after a week of being there, and we were there 6 days?
Give or take. I think
Like
so.
the day before we were leaving, the kids were like, we're good.
Yeah.
We're ready to go
Don't need
home.
to see anymore.
No, we're all right.
They
And
would
so
require driving. No, we're done.
For me, that was huge vindication that, they've, I think, realized that we haven't been trying to hide them from the world or keep them away from things. That there is a quality of life that is very special in our rural communities throughout this country, where we are in the Appalachian Mountains, that's to be treasured and cherished. Sometimes you forget it because you're so used to it, and you take it for granted.
Yeah.
Go to a major city,
Yep.
and then come back home, and it's a relief to get home, actually, because you're just like, wait, I can just be here.
Yeah.
And there isn't this sense that you're constantly overwhelmed when you don't want to be, just because of the nature of the environment. So it's nice to be able to go and travel, go to cities. There's obviously a ton of great and interesting things you can do, a lot of cultural stuff, but then, you can put it all down, come to your amazing rural communities, and have just this amazing quality of life.
Quality of life.
Cost of living, quality of life, so high. And, here we are trying to interact with the rest of the world. So you have internet, you have cellular, and you can even get on 4G and have your signal scream because nobody else is on it. Relatively speaking. So either way, it was a good trip. Definitely would recommend seeing part 2, Catalina Island. Very cool. It's the first time that I've thought, man, if money were not an object, it would be great to have a little vacation home out there.
Probably be the only place in California we would ever consider living.
Very cute, quaint. And we're saying that about California.
Yeah.